Welcome, excuse me, welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So unfortunately, I had a little technical difficulty. So this is round 2. But Bitcoin has been spotted in the wild, up in the skies. And Bitcoin holders, we don't want to miss what's coming. So let's talk about that, and also a little update on the staking situation. Gary shares a bit more information. And let's talk about it. Welcome, guys. Let's change my screen to here. In case my thumbnail went over your head, I was referring to this last night. Over Alaska, there was a new object, a new UFO, unidentified object, that was shot down. No one knows where it comes from. It's not another Chinese spy balloon, and it was much smaller. It was about, they said, like a car length, where the weather balloon was more like 3 bus lengths. So it's much smaller, but it was still floating around 40,000 feet, and they have no idea. They have no idea what it is. So it's pretty wild. You know, the Pentagon, they've been pretty open now about UFOs. Before, it was like, oh, you can't talk about it. You know, they downplay it, you know. But now they're just saying it's a UFO. I mean, they just say it. They don't even try to hide it anymore. So I just found that to be hilarious. And we've been seeing a lot more footage. I just saw one on TikTok the other day that looks so damn real. Like, you just can't tell anymore. Anyways, just want to share that right off the bat in case you missed it. But, you know, I also saw this in regards to yesterday's big thing about, you know, staking being shut down on Kraken. Is Gary attacking everyone and wants to shut down staking? Well, Jesse tweeted this, saying, oh man, all I had to do was fill out a form on a website and tell people that staking rewards come from staking. Wish I'd seen this video before paying a $30 million fine and agreeing to permanently shut down the service in the US. How dumb do I look? Gosh, obviously Jesse is pretty mad because Gary pretty much lied and said, well, you know what? Instead of, you guys hear it. I got this clip here, all right? And you could hear exactly what Gary said about how easy it is for Kraken and others to just fill out a form.
These firms, Kraken knew how to register, others know how to register. It's just a form on our website. They can come in, talk to our talented people in disclosure review teams, and if they want to offer staking, we're neutral. Come in, register, because investors need that disclosure. What are you doing with the tokens? Are you trading against the tokens? Are you?
So there you have it. It's really that simple, like Jesse said. According to Gary, all we had to do was download a form off the website, tell people what we were doing with their staking rewards, and just hand it in. Just hand it in to Gary, and we would have avoided a $30 million fine, right? I mean, so obviously Gary's not being truthful here, okay? On CNBC, he's saying, oh, yeah, it's so easy for Kraken to just register real quick. They knew how to do it, and we would not have gone through this. I think there's a lot more to that. I don't think Jesse and Kraken, you know, didn't have hundreds of lawyers probably looking at this, fighting the SEC over it, and now they have settled where they have to pay, not only pay, but shut down the service permanently. They didn't say that they could get it back after they filed. They have shut down permanently. Okay, so there's definitely something there. Gary does not want staking. That's the bottom line. He wants control because he looked really bad because he didn't catch FTX, he didn't catch Voyager and Celsius and everyone else under. Now he's just commingling everything, yield and staking and rewards and everything together, thinking that it's all the same when it's not. So there you go. All right. So what else is there? As for Bitcoin, well, there's one this one analyst said, hey, you know what? Bitcoin is tracking the DXY. And we have known this before. You know, Bitcoin tends to track DXY because when the strength of the dollar goes up, people tend to buy more dollars, strangely enough, and then sell off assets. But when the DXY goes down, they sell off those dollars and use it to buy assets like Bitcoin, right? And right now, DXY is at 103.58. So definitely, DXY has been going up. But just to prove the point, I downloaded this DXY indicator, and take a look. Take a look. Recently, we hit that 24.2, right? And we were not able to break it. That happens to be the same day when DXY fell down to about 101. So that's actually the recent low. And then you can see when the DXY started coming up, guess what happened? And Bitcoin started falling. It's like, man, the DXY is a really good indicator. And if you zoom out even more, let's go to the day chart here. You could see that when Bitcoin hit 64,000, right? DXY was at like 90. And ever since DXY, and this is the yellow line that you guys are saying, ever since DXY has been going up, that's when Bitcoin's been going down, right? So the DXY is actually a really good indicator. Over here too. Look at this. When Bitcoin hit 20,000, right? Look at where DXY was, down here. So when the DXY goes down significantly, meaning the strength of the dollar is going down and people are buying stuff with it, you can see it has a huge correlation with the price of Bitcoin right now. Over time, that correlation will diminish, but right now it's still very accurate, even on a smaller time frame, where you can see that, yeah, DXY's bottom around 101 was when we hit 24.2. So this whole thing about staking and everything, right? Fears about staking being shut down, fears about Gensler, fears about a lot of other stuff that Coinbase and Brian Armstrong and everyone else is talking about, right? Maybe it has nothing to do with those. Maybe it just has to do with the fact that DXY is going up and investors are just worried and they are selling off assets and stocking up on dollars. Maybe that's what it is. But it's an interesting correlation, though. But we will see. We will see. Why is the DXY going up, you're wondering, right? Why is this happening? Again, it's due to fears of Powell and the next rate hike and inflation and what the banks have done and all that shenanigans. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. DXY is measuring the strength of the dollar versus other currencies around the world, and the strength of the dollar tends to go up or down depending on what the Fed does. Okay, and it affects our monetary policy and affects monetary policy of everyone around the world, as strange as that sounds, but every country around the world is kind of looking at what the U.S. and what the Fed is doing because our bonds are held by other countries and our dollar is the reserve currency, and everyone tends to flock to dollars when there's economic turmoil, right? So that's an interesting correlation right there. Interesting correlation. All right, but moving on, because of everything that's happening, right? Because of the shenanigans and the Fed and the Powell and everything else, the Powell, you know what? That's why everyone wants to opt out and get into something better, something that decouples and decorrelates with the DXY, with the U.S. markets, with everything else going on. And that's Bitcoin and crypto, right? Even large banks, BNY and Mellon, says investors are absolutely interested because they want to opt out. They want something better. Banks are getting involved. Institutions are getting involved. Countries are getting involved. States are getting involved. Literally everyone wants to get involved for their own benefit and because their clients, the investors, want to get involved, right? It's to that point. Like you can't stop it anymore, so you might as well embrace it. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And there's more news about embracing in a little bit. But I mentioned about countries, even Russia. Russia is ready to allow international trade in Bitcoin and crypto. Obviously, their situation is a little bit different with all the sanctions going on, but Russia is still a big country. And if they're going to allow trade with Bitcoin, I mean, that's absolutely huge, right? Importing, exporting of their oil and any of their commodities, right? to be traded in Bitcoin. That's absolutely huge. That's absolutely huge. And there's many other countries that are thinking about doing the same as well. I mean, that's why you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this trend. Okay, the trend of global adoption, really, with blockchain, with decentralization, with digital currencies, with Bitcoin, right? The trend is definitely moving forward despite all the horrible macro stuff and the bad actors in this space. The whole ecosystem industry is moving forward. And then you also don't want to miss this. There's been many, many charts that correlate our current movement with 2019's. And yes, even though we dipped down, and yes, it may be due to DXY, but just like before, we have seen this before. When Bitcoin was coming up from 2019, okay, when the bottom and recovering, right? It wasn't a straight linear path to 69,000. No, there was up and downs. In fact, in 2019, after we hit a local top of 14,000, then we kind of went down and went back down because we had the COVID sell-off, right? But still, we shot up really quickly, then kind of hovered for a little bit, and then eventually we broke out of there and continued forward, right? So if we're mimicking what happened in 2019's, in that recovery stage, right? This is perfectly normal because there will be volatility, right? Nothing that goes up linearly forever, according to plan. But still, once we come back up, you don't want to miss that. You definitely don't want to miss that. That's when it's most exciting, and you are rewarded for your conviction, for your faith in Bitcoin, right? Take a look at this number of non-zero addresses, 44 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. Although, if you think that's a lot, you really have to divide that by maybe like 4 or 5, because most people in this space have at least 4 addresses, I would say. Probably at least 4. So really it's a lot, but it's really not also, because if you divide that 4, you're talking about like probably 11 million addresses, and 11 million out of 8 billion is nothing, right? But you don't want to wait until that number gets to 8 billion or 16 billion or 44 billion, because that's when it'll be too late. That's when people will only be able to accumulate sats and not whole Bitcoins. No way. The whole world embraces Bitcoin. There's no way anyone could afford to get even 1 Bitcoin at that point. It would be in the millions. So most likely people will be accumulating sats at this point, right? So again, you don't want to wait for that moment to happen. You want to get in while you can still become a whole coiner, and that's a huge accomplishment as we move forward. Also, supply last active 5 years. Of course, this is from the holders, right? Up again to a new high, 28%. All these on-chain metrics that measure the strength of the holders and the network, and this is part of the growing fundamentals, just keeps getting better. Just keeps getting better and better and better and better. I mean, these don't go in the opposite direction. They just keep getting better because more and more people, as they learn and come into the space, learn about Bitcoin, about crypto, about everything else, after they truly understand, they stay. They never leave. So, very positive, very positive. Now, as for outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're getting ready to launch their Shanghai upgrade, right? And there's a lot of people that talk about this, and they think, well, if they finally offer on staking, that it's a bad thing, that you're going to have 1 million people trying to dump their ETH. You know what? That may not be the case. It may be the opposite. Even JP Morgan, okay? It's funny enough that JP Morgan and their analyst is talking about this because Jamie Dimon is so against Bitcoin and crypto, yet his firm has analysts that are talking about crypto, right? Think about that. Think about how that works out. If you ran a company, if you ran a bank and you really hated Bitcoin and crypto, why would you allow it to operate and offer services and even make suggestions on what may happen? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? But that's Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan. But JP Morgan argues that Ethereum their Shanghai upgrade, which allows unstaking, will actually bring more investors to the protocol. Because if you look at like Cardano or Avalanche or Solana and any of these guys, they're like at 70+% of their supply staked. Ethereum is only up to 14. And it could be because so many people are afraid they don't want to stake because then they can't unstake. But if you remove that from the equation and people are like, okay, I can stake anytime and unstake anytime, that may actually draw more people to stake. And if only 14% of the supply is staked right now, and think about if that increases 70% to the same as some of these other projects, on top of that, you have burning, which is making them deflationary already. That's going to make Ethereum explode because there's just not that much anymore circulating, right? If you think about it. And it makes a whole lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. So think about that. Interesting. Also, Visa, about this global adoption. Visa wants to settle payments on Ethereum. Interesting. They want to be able to convert dollars to USDC and have everything settle on top of Ethereum. That's what they're working on right now, right? These guys have to embrace and adopt, because if they don't, they become ancient and then they go bye-bye, right? So that's what they're doing. All these guys are embracing and adopting. Also, Shopify, they had this big partnership with Avalanche, right? And at first, didn't seem much. They allow their merchants to design and mint and sell Avalanche NFTs, but then they released, well, now people that hold their NFTs can get special benefits, right? Access to exclusive products and other NFTs, and they're basically building an NFT store, right? So that's awesome. That's awesome. That's an evolution, right? Something like this actually doesn't exist much. All these exclusive things that you can get by holding NFT, right? They take a lot of special development, because I've been looking into that. And now Shopify is offering it for free for their merchants. So awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And then lastly, I saw this. There's still more about the Genesis, and basically DCG is go convert everything into this holding company, and they will go bankrupt, right? And Gemini is giving $100 million for this, but I don't know. I don't know how much will be patched. How much will be given back to the people, right? But they are definitely working at it. All right. So unfortunately, another one collapses, and this is what I guess Gary is afraid of, but he doesn't realize that this is different than staking, or native staking at least, right? The terms are just intermingled, and that's not right. And that's how the cookie crumbles. All right, let's do some Q&A. Man, my computer must have restarted or something. This got really out of whack here. I gotta fix this real quick. There we go. That looks better. That looks better. All right, crypto for everyone. If ETH gets the expected sell pressure after Shanghai update, it will lead to quite a nice DCA phrase for believers. You know what? Now that I think about it, now that I don't know, I actually think it's what JP Morgan says. I actually think there won't be a sell-off. Well, some people will sell because they're looking to sell, but I think it's going to open up to more people because now that fear is removed, more people will want to stake. So I actually don't think it's going to sell off. Plus, Ethereum is very deflationary at this point. Every time I see this, it just keeps going down. Let's see if it's even more. I mean, yeah, it's really deflationary. Now it's minus 16,000 ETH. And this is going to go lower, lower, lower. So you combine this, they're burning, with, let's say their staking increases from 14% to 70%. That's a lot of ETH just being taken out of supply, right? That's a whole lot. So what's the best way to abolish the Fed? I have no clue. I have no clue. Everyone get off the dollar. But it's much more complicated than that. If the new reserve currency becomes Bitcoin, because then the Fed can't apply monetary policies to it, can't do monetary easing or tightening because you can't control Bitcoin. I don't know. Will little STE depeg when a native staking becomes available? I don't know that question. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. Is the SEC banning all cuts of steak? They should leave ribeye out of it. You know, all people had to do was download this form off the website and just fill it out and hand it in. That's it. You know, Jesse could have avoided $30 million of fines. According to Gary, that's all he had to do. If staking's off the table, will ETH survive? Yes. I think, okay, based on these questions, I think a lot of you guys are confused. Okay. Gary isn't banning crypto that have staking because he can't, because there's a lot of people worldwide that's participating in staking. These crypto projects are not US bound. And he's only banning it from centralized exchanges. Now, he says he's not doing it because he just wants to ban staking because these guys are just not registering. But still, that has nothing to do with whether these projects are deemed a security, whether they're going to be banned, whether they're going to be shut down. It really has nothing to do with that. Andrew, been with you since February 2021, seen up and downs. Appreciate your education, inspiration level throughout this journey. Appreciate it, Andrew. Appreciate your support. Is staking your ETH with Lido safe? You got to define what safe is. If Lido goes under, will your ETH disappear? Yes. Okay. So is that safe? No. But what are the chances Lido goes under? We don't know. Okay. So is it safe compared to if you were just holding ETH in your wallet? No, not as safe. But is it safe compared to, I don't know, any other liquidity provider where you can stake ETH? Probably, because Lido is one of the biggest, right? So it's your definition of safe, Richard. Do I believe in aliens? I do. I just don't know if I believe they have ever visited. But I think, yes, they're just definitely aliens. You know, the universe is way too big for there not to be other intelligent life. Can Gary and the SEC enforce compliance over DeFi? Yes, they can. They have already. They force several. Like, for example, MetaMask. MetaMask cannot send to certain wallets that are deemed on the blacklist or blacklisted addresses, right? So, and 1inch is a DEX aggregator. Being a U.S. citizen, you can't trade certain coins. So they already have. And some of these projects are compliant, like Tornado Cash was shut down, right? So some of these, the government has been pressuring a lot of these DeFi projects already. Crypto Quest can't really talk about Oasis. Not familiar enough with them. Why haven't the aliens openly interacted with us in modern times? Maybe they have, but would you believe them? If someone on TikTok or Facebook or YouTube said, hey, I met an alien, would you believe them? Right? That's the thing. We're so distrusting now, right? So if it happened, we wouldn't even know. Have they been talking to the government? Maybe. Maybe. Who knows? Right? Unless like aliens actually just started invading like World Awards or like Independence Day and then they started like destroying everything, then people will believe. But if they're actually here working with the government or interacting with people already, no one will believe that. No one will know either. Especially with our CGI now, is so good. You can't tell what's real, what's not anymore. Romero, I don't know how to say your first name, but appreciate it. Predictions on the next CPI report, I think it's go okay. I think it's go continue to show that inflation is going down. Let's go measure inflation for January, and I think we're going to see a continuation of December and November and October. We're going to see inflation go down more. I mean, I don't think anything's going to change that. Let's see if it's predicted already, what the prediction is. Right here. So it's going to be Tuesday. That's going to be a big day. But we are at 6.5%. It's predicted that we will drop to 6.2%. And core inflation will drop from 5.7 to 5.4. And if we beat these numbers, let's say CPI goes down to 6%, right? Another 0.5% drop, because the last one was 0.5. So if we drop down to 6%, and let's say core inflation drops down to 5.2 or something like that, I mean, that's massive. That's massive. And then we're going to get another one next month for February before the FOMC meeting, right? I believe we're going to get one more before the next FOMC meeting, which will be, I mean, if it keeps showing inflation's going down, Powell has to be dovish. He can't be hawkish anymore, right? So I think we're going to have a good CPI reading once again. Derek, thank you. Thoughts on AMP and them coming out of the AMPRA Foundation? I don't know about coming out of what foundation, but AMP is going to stay weak because they're targeted by the SEC as a security. That's why they got weak and they never really done anything afterwards. Retail also is weak. A lot of the retail partners that that signed up with Flexa, they went under, so that didn't help them. But primarily it's because SEC has targeted AMP as a security. That's why they got really weak, and I don't think they're going to recover from that. If Celsius retail clawbacks work, this will stop many from buying U.S. central exchanges, knowing the there will be clawbacks. What's your opinion? Yeah, I don't think there's going to be clawbacks. There's clawbacks. You're hearing about it with politicians because the FTX bankruptcy. It's because they don't have any legal precedents to do that. It's just they're trying to shame them into giving it back, right? As for these other companies, there's no retail clawbacks. I don't think so. In fact, if there was, it would actually be good because that means that, well, it would be in reverse. That doesn't even make any sense because most people with Celsius, they lost their money. There's no way you're clawing back zero. In fact, it would be in reverse, right? People are trying to claw back from Celsius. So I'm not actually sure what your point is. But like with FTX, they're trying to claw back from the politicians that took donations from SBF. That's different. They're just basically shaming them to try to give it back. Demise, okay, I'm going to explain that when we go up, okay? For now, just stay tight. Stay tight. Hang tight. I mean, well, if you're tight, then stay tight, but hang tight. Thoughts on AI DeFi? It's not AI DeFi. It's just AI. Ryzen, there's a lot of talk. In fact, there's a lot of talk about AI. I've been covering them. Tonight, I'll have a special AI clip for you guys. It's going to summarize what's been happening with some of these projects, with how this whole thing started, right? So, I'll have something for you guys tonight. All right, guys, let's call it a stream. You know, a lot of alien activity going on right here. This is 2 in a row, but you know, this whole thing with Kraken and staking and Gary, right? I think a lot of people are quite confused what this means. Overall, it's not good to have staking removed from centralized exchanges, but does not mean that you can't do it yourself, and does not mean these projects automatically become securities, and does not mean that these projects that offer staking to power the network goes under, because they are worldwide. They are decentralized. It's not just native US based, right? So, but I'll cover more as time goes on. In the meantime, there's still a lot of great things happening in this space with Bitcoin, with everything else. So stay strong, my friends. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. But I will have a special AI clip for you guys tonight. So look forward to that. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.